What's going on, everyone? I'm just a simple, ordinary American man here to react and learn about what is it like to live at Buckingham Palace. Now, this is one of the very few UK places that Americans are actually somewhat familiar with by name. I'm extremely doubtful most people in America could identify it even by what it looks, but we know that it is kind of equivalent to our American president's White House. It's where the Queen lives, where UK royalty lives. Am I correct in that? I know it's not where Parliament. Oh my God, this is already starting off kind of not on the right track. Buckingham Palace in London, the administrative headquarters of the monarch of the United Kingdom. Okay, pretty much. I basically said that, right? I was basically the same level of eloquence as that Wikipedia article. Anyway, what's interesting about this video is it's not some kind of just description of what happens at Buckingham Palace. It's what is it like to live there, which I think is far, far more interesting, especially for an American who I basically have no concept of what goes on here, what it looks like inside, what's happening here, what is the Queen doing here day to day. It's probably pretty cool. That's the only thing that I can even reasonably assume. But anyway, without further ado, let's check it out.
And an official state building, Buckingham Palace operates in both the private and public spheres. Its size and...
Really? So it's like a public residence and a private residence for royalty and public, like the public can come visit it. That reminds me exactly of how the White House works. Exactly.
As a royal residence and an official state building, Buckingham Palace operates in both the private and public spheres.
Yeah.
Its size and grandeur exceeds general knowledge, and maybe even expectation, giving individuals living in Buckingham Palace access to much more than meets the eye. So...
Yeah, I imagine getting to live at Buckingham Palace has got to be pretty awesome. Look at this room. Just off the bat, I don't know what this room is, but it's fancy. I imagine a lot of high-ranking government buildings, especially where you're going to put the leader or the royalty or the leaders of your country to live in, are going to be pretty extravagant. And I know this Buckingham Palace has a long, long history. I don't know if they're going to get into that. But, yeah, very nice so far. It probably comes with a lot of perks, I imagine.
Individuals living in Buckingham Palace access to much more than meets the eye. So, today, we're going to take a look at what it's like to live at Buckingham Palace. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, we'd be much obliged if you would leave a comment.
Okay. Since he said it, give it a like. Weird History. Thank you for the video, Weird History.
And let us know what other famous historical locations you would like to hear about. Okay, time for a Weird History fit for a queen.
Okay. The decorations may feel out of date. Well, yeah, based on that one photo there, it does have a dated look to it. That doesn't take away from the fact that it looks extremely nice and fancy.
Buckingham Palace includes 775 rooms, 19 of which are designated as staterooms.
Over 700 rooms. It really is a palace. It's in the name. So I don't know what I expected. We're kind of glossing over stuff here. We got royal portraits, pictures, paintings. Wow, okay.
775 rooms.
Keep moving along here.
19 of which are designated as staterooms. Some of the challenges of the aging structure, including a leaking roof and falling detritus.
Is that true? A leaking roof? You'd think they could fix that with the royal budget or something. Is he just being funny?
May not seem like the ideal living situation. But as part of the palace's history, these defects could just be considered part of the building's charm. And indeed, while these problems could be easily fixed, the royal family prefers to leave it as is. In fact, according to historian
You know, I'm laughing, but that's the honest truth, right? When you have historical buildings, you don't want to go around fixing things too much. You want to leave the history there as much as you can. So it's probably not a joke. You probably don't want to go around patching up parts of the Buckingham Palace every other day, or else eventually you're going to end up with not the Buckingham Palace anymore. Kind of like when you replace the ship plank by plank. We're getting philosophical here. Okay.
Ellen Leslie, none of the staterooms have been redecorated for more than 6 decades, which was a very deliberate decision. Most people decorate their houses mainly for fashion reasons every 10 years or so, Leslie said, but this isn't what the royal family are into when it comes to Buckingham Palace.
Right.
They want it to keep looking the same.
I can get on board with that. I guess if you're going to be royalty and you're going to get to live at Buckingham Palace, if one of the drawbacks is you don't get to decorate it exactly how you want, I think we can all live with that. And the decoration already has all the history behind it. It's already cool enough. It doesn't need to be changed.
Each of the staterooms is elaborately decorated and requires a fair amount of upkeep. According to Leslie, the reason it's lasted so well is that it was furnished and decorated to a very high standard in the first place.
Yes.
A lot of the interior is based on the inspirations of Edward VII, who loved the place.
How old is Buckingham Palace? I want to know. Buckingham Palace built? 1703. Okay. When? Who built it? Designed by William Wynd and John Finch. Kudos to them. They built a nice place. 300 years
Buckingham
old.
House was acquired by the royal family during the mid-18th century and transitioned to a formal palace under the auspices of King George IV. During the 1820s, George IV and architect John Nash expanded the house into a palace, which entailed rebuilding and adding numerous rooms.
At what point do you go from a house to a palace? Seems like quite a leap. At what point have you added enough fancy rooms to finally technically have a palace on your hands? I don't know. Just a thought.
As well as a healthy amount of elaborate decor. While some upgrades have taken place throughout Buckingham Palace over the years, they haven't been enough to keep the residential and official areas current. In 2017, the British government allocated £500 million to upgrade water pipes, electrical wiring, light fittings, and
This
radiators.
makes sense. This makes sense. You don't have to go updating the actual building, its interior, the walls, the furniture, paintings. Keep all that. But, the sewage system, the pipes, electrical system, update that, please. Please update that.
Some of which dated back to before World War II. Despite the improvements, defects remain. According to Sir Alan Reed,
Give some
the
character.
keeper of the Privy Peace, water often leaks from the roof of Buckingham Palace and has to be captured in buckets below.
I almost feel like this is the second time they've mentioned the leaky roof. I almost feel like they like the leaky roof. They like having to put the buckets out and catch the water and say how much character it has. If I had some crazy old fancy building and the one drawback was it had leaky roofs, I'd probably, sell that as much as possible. I'd be like, look at the character though. The roofs, look at all the buckets.
In addition to some practical and aesthetic changes, safety issues need to be addressed as well. On one occasion, a piece of falling masonry almost hit Princess Anne in the head. The repairs are to take place over more than 10 years.
Never mind. Take back everything I said. Tape up the whole building. Tape it up. Cover it in glue. Stop the roof from falling and hitting people in the head, please.
A multi-phase operation. Until then, princesses are advised to keep an eye out for falling bits of the ceiling. The British government may have invested £500 million into revamping Buckingham Palace, but it wasn't without controversy. For while the British public is generally fond of the royals, they're not too hot.
That's something, since I'm not deeply ingrained in UK British culture, I can't say I know what the popular sentiment, what the feelings are of the people towards Buckingham Palace and all of the royalty if there's generally like a positive outlook, like they say. But I could see where people would be upset that super rich, privileged individuals, although, they do a good job given the position that they're in, they do good work and they do good things for the world. That being said, given those people already in such a strong position, $500 million to reorganize, restructure their palace. when you put it that way, I can see where some people might be upset, but the roof's caving in, for crying out loud.
Not on footing the bill for their home improvements. In fact, when the repairs first became an issue, a petition circulated in the United Kingdom demanding the royal family pay for the work themselves. Several members of Parliament echoed the call for the royals to fund the renovation. But Queen Elizabeth II insists she doesn't own Buckingham Palace, unlike several of her other residences.
Interesting arguments. I'm sure, if the royalty is somehow making tons of cash on the side, just in their personal endeavors, I could see where, if they are very wealthy, you'd want them to just pay for it, whether the palace technically belongs to them or not. But I also see the Queen's point of view, where it ain't technically her palace. She was just born into this position where technically she gets to live there, and it will be, I imagine, passed along to her descendants and no longer be hers. So, who knows?
Working home, however, Buckingham Palace serves as the base residence for the Queen. God save the Queen, but let the Queen save her own house.
Okay. The Queen's apartment and throne. Is there a throne in here? It's a palace. There gotta be a throne.
Located on the north side of Buckingham Palace are 3 private apartments.
Can I get a throne in here? Imagine having a throne in your house. I'd just sit on it just to, play on my phone. I don't even have to be doing anything cool. I just want a throne.
Occupied by Queen Elizabeth II. While who should fit the bill for the palace repairs is a matter of debate, the Queen herself, uncontroversially, pays for the furnishings in her 9-room apartment. Elizabeth and her late husband, Prince
hope
Philip,
so.
reportedly slept apart in separate rooms because the Queen enjoys having the windows open even in the coldest months. According to Lady Pamela Hicks, Philip's first cousin, it also just generally remains a common practice among the British upper class, sleeping in separate rooms, that is, not leaving the windows open when it's cold.
What? What kind of tradition practice is that? If the upper class, the royalty, I would hope they wouldn't feel pressured by tradition to not sleep in the same bedroom as your spouse. That's kind of sad. I would imagine most of them don't abide by that. That'd be strange. Why? It's just kind of a normal thing you do in relationships. And no one's watching you. No one's there watching. No one's even going to know if you're doing it or not. Why are you trying to save face and adhere to these protocols when no one even knows? So, yeah, sleep in the same bed, royal people, please. I give you permission.
Aptly named the Throne Room, one of the staterooms in Buckingham Palace is home to 2 thrones called the Chairs of Estate. The chairs were made for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II and her husband, Prince Philip, in 1953. Chairs used by previous rulers, King George VI, crowned in 1937, and Queen Victoria, crowned in 1837, are located in the room as well.
This is one of the cool things about living in a historical building. Every day you're like passing by this chair or that stool or some fork or something, and you're like, oh, yeah, no big deal. A king from 200 years ago ate his salami with that. No biggie. It's like you're passing by and living with this super historical furniture. And it would almost be strange. Like, I wouldn't want to sit on it. I wouldn't want to get it dirty, but it's there to be used. It was made to be a chair, so you gotta sit in it.
Elizabeth II's throne is embroidered with EIIR, her royal cipher for Elizabeth II Regina, and has only been sat upon once. After her coronation ceremony, the Queen used the throne chair, now located at Windsor Castle.
Go home and sit in that chair right now. when you get the time, Queen, with all due respect. I mean, I just want the chair to get its due use because of my crazy rantings. A big place. It is a big place. It
The
is
40
indeed.
acres of gardens at Buckingham Palace feature more than 300 types of British wildflowers, 150
Whoa.
trees, 30 species of birds, and numerous types of moths and butterflies. Within the garden, there's a lake that spans 3 acres and has its own small island.
Whoa, look at this aerial view. You get a lake and like hundreds of species of wildlife living right outside if you want to go for a royal walk around the royal lake. Man, this is cool. The only thing thinking about that is there are certain aspects to your home that you would want to modernize, or it would be a huge inconvenience. Like, can I get a flat screen TV by the lakeside chair? Or, you know, if they told me that's totally out of line, I would listen, but I would be the most I would be the most complaining royal person ever if they got absolutely zero say in what they kept in their own residence. Although I'm not exactly sure how often they truly stay here, live here. It sounded like, by what they were saying in this video, the Queen has apartment buildings and other homes she probably actually lives in. Now that I think about it, that would make way more sense, right? The same exact thing goes on with the President of the United States. They're living in the White House fairly regularly, but man, they also own like 12 other mansions in 12 different states, you know? So, that makes sense when you think about it that way.
On the island, the palace keeps Italian honeybees, and the Queen enjoys organic honey made by the bees.
What?
London's oldest helicopter pad also takes up some garden space, as
Okay.
does a tennis court, the herbaceous border, and ornamentation like the Waterloo vase. In many
So
ways,
nice.
Buckingham Palace is autonomous, offering amenities like a post office, cafeteria, movie theater,
What?
and doctor's office for the staff.
What?
These
Oh, there's a staff. Okay. Yes. I have trouble, you know, getting into the mindset that the crown, the royalty, it's like a living, breathing entity. There's lots of people on staff helping take care of the royal duties, helping to assist, to take care of things. So, okay, I was like, really? We have a doctor and a bowling alley and a cafeteria just for the Queen? But it makes so much sense that it's for her and all the members of the people working there. That makes sense.
features make it easy for employees to take care of personal matters without ever having to leave. Additional facilities include a swimming pool, gym, and chapel. The staff can also join a book club or choir, or benefit from on-site counseling services.
Oh my gosh, it's like a city. It's like a town. You could just live at Buckingham Palace. You could just sneak in there and live there in the city of Buckingham Palace and no one would probably even notice you. You could just like go to the grocery store in there, stop by for bowling on the way home, a little swim, and no one would probably ever even know you didn't belong there. Not to give anybody any strange ideas.
Costs for the medical facilities were the subject of public criticism in 2008. The Health Service Journal revealed 300 household staff were receiving medical services at a rate nearly 2 times the national average. This was
Oh.
especially troubling because the National Health Services in Britain closed down much larger medical practices with lower expenses. At one point, Buckingham Palace had a bar for the staff. But according to Dickie Arbiter, former press officer for Queen
Gotta
Elizabeth
keep 'em
II,
happy.
the bar was closed due to worse-for-wear staff, which is generally code for people were getting too drunk too often. Based on
What? Okay, you know, I believe that. If you if you put a bar in any workplace, we'll call it, even Buckingham Palace, the staff are gonna take advantage of it, you could say, and who can blame them, you know, when it's right there.
on reports, the Queen shut down the on-site watering hole. On at least one occasion, however, the Queen served drinks in the palace, handing the Queen Mother's upholsterer, Kevin
Queen?
Andrews, a builder's tea, a mug of tea with 2 sugars.
an ATM in the basement, and staff living at the palace. Yeah, this is a whole entity, this Buckingham Palace. There is, when I first went into this, I was just thinking, okay, I think the Queen lives here. But no, it is much, there's way more technical details going into this than I ever imagined. But it makes sense.
In the basement of Buckingham Palace, a Coots Bank ATM gives members of the royal family access to cash at any time. Queen Elizabeth II is said to never carry cash. But because the palace serves as both a royal residence and the site of matters of state, the royals are regularly present.
Yeah, so it is also a place where matters of the state happen. Like actual work happens here, at least to some extent. It's not just for living and lounging by the pool. Okay.
Coots, one of the oldest banks in the world, serves the highest echelons of society, including the Queen Mother, who passed in 2002. The Queen Mother once overdrew £4 million from the bank, although not from the ATM, which was installed in 2001. Okay. Buckingham Palace has 188 staff bedrooms. These facilities are relatively small quarters where workers can sleep while on duty.
So the workers quite literally can live there. It is like a giant apartment building / town with everything. They probably don't want to leave except maybe to get away from work where they work all day, but you might never want to leave otherwise, you know? It's nice. A lot of amenities. My gosh.
When Buckingham Palace advertised for a housekeeping assistant in 2016, the position included staying at the palace full-time, sleeping and eating while working an unspecified number of hours. While housekeeping at the palace is a pretty demanding gig, it's not without its perks, which include exclusive phone packages and car leasing discounts. Positions at Buckingham Palace also come with extensive training, with everyone from telephone operators to butlers learning how to deliver extraordinary service in incredible surroundings.
Yes. Since we are dealing with royalty here, it would be not too surprising to hear that the service is expected to be top-notch. I mean, that's pretty much the highest echelon of society you could really hope to serve. If you're in the service industry, it's hard to think of like serving someone more, higher up than royalty. Except maybe, I don't know, Tom Cruise or something. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. The Queen may just wander into the room. Like, because she lives there, she has the right to just wander wherever she wants. I mean, that makes sense. It's her place, but I would hope maybe knock on the door first if it's locked, in case someone's doing something in there, Common courtesy even extends to elite royalty and the elites of society, common courtesies. So, but it is, you know what? Let's see what they're even talking about before I ramble on.
So, imagine you're just doing your job, minding your own business when, without any warning, the Queen of England just walks into the room and starts hanging out. It's hard to picture, but it happens. At least if you work at Buckingham Palace, it happens.
That would be cool.
Former palace butler Richard Kerrigan, for one, recalled an unexpected encounter with the Queen. He was standing and walking on a 180-person table to fix a flower arrangement when the Queen walked in. Unable to speak to the monarch unless approached by her, he continued his task. According to Kerrigan, he was thinking that it was a quite abnormal thing, but she's checking to make sure everything suits her. He added that with the events, we see her all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're working at Buckingham Palace, I think it's safe to assume you're gonna see the Queen and many others in the same, inner circle out and about, right? That shouldn't be too shocking. Yeah.
As you can probably guess, interacting with the Queen is subject to all sorts of rules, even if you're the palace butler, like Kerrigan. And not being able to talk to her before she spoke to you was just one.
I wonder if the Queen ever gets tired of stuff like that. I'm sure she's used to it, but just being the Queen and being told that there are all these rules and regulations around how people can speak to you, I would feel bad. I would be like, you don't want people running up to you and just saying whatever they want and going crazy and having full freedom to just go nuts towards the queen, but I would want, normal people who work for me to feel like they can talk to me if they have something they want to say, for sure. Feel like they can say something, but yeah, I see. I get why there's a lot of protocol. It is royalty.
According to the man himself, he once got caught trying to take a picture inside the palace, which is strictly forbidden. And during dinner service, he and the other servers had to watch a green and red traffic light system to see when they were allowed to leave and enter the room.
What?
Discretion and protocol are maintained at all times.
That's how that's the technology they implement. That's what they choose to do. Bowling alleys and stoplights to let the butlers. I mean, it's a smart system. I mean, it's probably much more practical than I'm making it out to be. I'm trying to make it sound silly, and if one of the butlers were here, they'd set me straight and be like, "Oh, no, it actually makes a lot of sense. It's very convenient." But the imagery here of a stoplight telling you when to do your butlering, kind of funny, but probably practical.
Simon Morgan, Royal Protection Officer from 2006 to 2013, echoed this sentiment when he recalled his time at the palace. He was both in awe of and deferential about being allowed into places you wouldn't normally have access to. According to Morgan, you are very fortunate to be in these positions, to travel by private charter, or travel first class, or be on super yachts, or to eat in some of the nicest restaurants the world can offer. But it's just a job.
Yeah. There's a lot of perks in being the queen, in being royalty, and there's a lot of good perks to being a part of that world, just working in that world.
And after Morgan's job was done, he went back to being just like anyone else. As he says, you go back to your 2 up, 2 down home, and life carries on. Your environment might change, but you remember you are still a police officer employed by the Met Police.
Yeah, I've never been in a position where I got to experience a taste of the royal life, the high life, celebrity life, super rich life is kind of what I'm getting at. Luxury, the life of luxury. I'm sure if you worked in that industry where you were around that, it would be strange to go work in such an extravagant, beautiful, cordial, important place. And then at the end of the day, just go home to your apartment or whatever and just chill on the couch. Like you didn't just do all that a few hours ago. It would probably be kind of surreal at first. Staple foods, like gotta have the foods. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Like Special K and nuts are on hand. Thank goodness. Could I tell them what I wanted on hand? And could it be brownies?
Queen Elizabeth II keeps a regular meal routine, enjoying tea, fruit, and eggs in the morning. She even has a favorite cereal. We'd like to say it's something like Fruit Loops or Lucky Charms, but it's just plain old Special K.
Okay.
She also generally stays away from starches, but doesn't avoid alcohol. Elizabeth drinks in moderation, enjoying gin and wine throughout the day. Hey, it's good to be the queen. Elizabeth also has bowls of nuts around the palace to snack on, and is adamant about protecting them for herself.
What? Is that true? Come on, share the nuts. I love nuts. I would eat these nuts up and take whatever the consequences are.
As a result of unapproved snacking, palace police officers were warned to keep their sticky fingers out of her nuts.
What?
Elizabeth also enjoys Tabasco sauce, Walker's shortbread, and chocolate, although presumably not all at once.
Good taste.
So what do you think? How would you...
Wow. Okay. That was everything I wanted and more in a what is it like to live at Buckingham Palace experience. The thing that kind of shocked me the most is I thought it was going to talk more about the formal rooms, like just kind of the history, kind of the old style of rooms and the importance they served in the past. No, none of that. It was like, bam, bowling alley. Bam, cafeteria. You can go surfing in here. You can play croquet in the lawn. And we have a private lake. And that is not what I was expecting to hear, but doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm sure all of those things exist at the American White House. I'm positive, probably more, because I'm sure that given my overall idea of American tradition, they'd probably be pretty willing to modernize a lot of the stuff in the White House, as long as they left certain rooms, certain art and history, as long as they leave certain things in place. I think they're very willing to modernize a lot of the facilities, basically whatever the current president would want implemented. I think, pretty sure there's a bowling alley in the basement one of the presidents had built, and a basketball court for sure was built. Yeah, but so there is some similarity there. Anyway, very interesting stuff. Very interesting indeed. In case I ever get to live at Buckingham Palace, now I'll be prepared, right? Okay. So if you enjoyed this reaction, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like or a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, looking at different UK things, UK culture, different things in Britain, all that stuff, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.